Formula 4 medals are up for grabs here at Valencia in the 2024 FIA Motorsport Games. FIA Formula 4 is a hugely important category. It's a globally recognised single-seater category in which everybody on this grid has the same car, engine, tyre combination. Tachio chassis, 1400cc turbo Abarth engines, Pirelli rubber, and a really interesting race in prospect. Italy, the winner in 2019. Italy, the winner in 2022. Italy, not represented in 2024, so a new nation is going to take gold. But just to illustrate how important a category, what a good springboard this is, the winner 2 years ago, Juan Andrea Kimi Antonelli, now with a Formula 1 future at his feet. The FIA Motorsport Games bringing competitors from all over the globe and down on the grid, the nations, the VIPs, the ASNs, the sporting authorities of the countries, all mingling as we get ready for what promises to be a really good 30-minute race. The grid is based on the results of the qualifying race. No medals at stake for that. That was won, the qualifying race, by Team Spain. There's a gap, I think, on the grid there looking down. One or two cars have not yet made it to the track, but they're on their way. Peru was second, Sri Lanka third, United Kingdom, Slovakia, and then Israel rounded out the top six. But it proved to be a really interesting race with Andres Cardenas from Peru sitting on the tail of Team Spain's Juan Cota for much of the race, but never really forcing the issue. But I think now with a gold medal at stake, force he will. David Addison, Joe Osborne, trackside. We've been looking forward to this all weekend. Teenage drivers, young guns, all with a point to prove, identical machinery, and a good track for these cars.
Yeah, and throwing a bit of national pride, seeing the Spanish home entry there of Cota Alonso, starting from the best position. There's also some cars to look out for as we see Stefan Rattel, head of the SRO organisation, speaking to Pirelli, obviously so linked now to all SRO championships, really taken motorsport by dominance. Pirelli, it's been a very strong rise in the last few years. Also just thinking about the Greek team, they obviously were fastest in free practice one as well, so there's a chance there. So I'm coming to the grid box nice and aggressively, actually just clipping the ankles of his flag bearer, so maybe that's a sign of intention for the next part of this 30-minute race.
We're running slightly late here, and a couple of cars already have had a pit infringement noted. Luxembourg is one, and Sri Lanka another. I wonder whether that's for crossing the white line at the pit exit. Well, we'll try and get to the bottom of that. The stewards will be busy, no doubt. There's your pole position driver then for Spain, which is the leading nation in the medal table. 4 gold medals taken by Spain. 3 for Italy, 2 for Germany, and 2 for Brazil. But there could be another gold here as a silent prayer in thought, perhaps, from Juan Cota there, just reflecting on what is ahead of him, the importance of this race. It's strange, isn't it? People ask you, what is the Motorsport Games all about? How much does it matter? It's not a championship. Is it any good? Yes, it is, and you can see the importance. It's not a championship, no championship points available. It is purely a one-off, but a gold medal for your nation is quite something, and the drivers that do take part, the teams that take part, take this incredibly seriously.
Yeah, and selfishly for the drivers, it's an international stage they're performing on as well. So if they can produce a mega result, then they've got a better chance of securing that sponsorship, getting with a better team for their next season of racing. Evan David here for Sri Lanka has had a strong season and looking strong across the whole weekend. I think he will be surprised he's probably not on that front row. Had a really strong start, didn't he, at the start of the qualifying race? We thought he might have had a bit of damage after he clipped the back of the Spanish car. Both continued without problem, but this United Kingdom car of Reza Seaworthen was all over the back of Sri Lanka. Reza there with his one-off helmet for the FIA Motorsport Games. Have done a mega job, managed by Edge Management as well there. Phil Glue helped so many drivers like him all the way through the ranks. Eddie Reynolds too, helping these young drivers go from F4 now in the nice logical path all the way to F1, just like that young man, Kimi Antonelli, that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Reza Seaworthen, one of the taller drivers in F4, kind of folds himself into the car. But Spain on pole position. Juan Cota is the driver of the Spanish entry, the man from Madrid. Carter turned Formula 4 racer, 15th in Spanish F4 last year, 4th in this year's championship, so made good progress. There you're looking at the Slovakian entry of Matus Riba, who used to be a hockey player for Slovan Bratislava before he followed his father's footsteps into motorsport, karting, and then this year he's been in Formula 4 in Spain, in the UK and Italy and the Central European zone as well. So he's been incredibly busy and amount to watch, I think, when we go racing. Let's go to the grid, because Antonio Rankin is with Stefan Rattel.
Stefan, on the final day of the Games, what an incredible event this has been.
Yeah, it's been very, very successful, and this is our best race in terms of the number of cars in circuit racing today. And if you look at all the nationalities here, to see Sri Lanka and Peru on the third, fourth position, it really shows that these FIA Motorsport Games are about bringing the whole world together. It's what we wanted to present, and that's what we presented.
It's so wonderful to see so many countries involved and succeeding in these games. How much, from your perspective, goes into organising that and bringing everyone together?
I mean, it's been a 2 years organization, and the last 6 months really with the team being here permanently and on different sites. You know, we have here Ricardo Tormo, the circuit, and we have also Aspar, where we had the as you know, the karting and the cross car, and in the center we had the esports, so different sites. And for the TV production, for you guys, it's been a lot of work, I know, to coordinate all of that, but at the end it's a very good show.
Oh, well, we've had so much fun, and you must be so proud of yourself and your team with SRO.
I'm proud of my team, most importantly, and very happy of the work we do with FIA, because it's really FIA together with SRO to put this event together.
Great, thank you so much. Enjoy the race.
Thank you.
So, yeah, Stefan Rattel, who came up with the idea of a Nations Cup for GT teams, and that was held at Bahrain in 2018, and then thought, well, why don't we do something similar for other categories? And we could make a kind of Olympics out of it. And when Stefan has a good idea, there's no stopping him. And the FIA Motorsport Games in 2019 was born. F4 was one of the key categories. We had touring cars, we had F4, we had GT, we had karting slalom, and the Digital Cup, as it was then called, which was esports. And boy, how has it grown since then. Ariel Alkin there for Team Israel. He's been a bit of a curate's egg this weekend, really quick in free practice, but then he got a grid drop for the qualifying race, made a whole heap of places, like 5 of them on lap 1, and couldn't do any more.
Yes, real yo-yo performances at the end of the sessions, as we see Japan actually out of the car. It's not a regular in single-seater racing. They normally like to stay in, stay focused, maybe just in a bit of adjustment of comfort as well there.
Like all the headbands that the Japanese team are wearing. I think quite combative with those, aren't they? Ready to go.
Good team gear addition, actually. Makes it easier to spot which team is yours if you've got that. As pit stop race would be extra helpful. But obviously these F4s, no pit stops, just a straight 30 minutes flat out. And yeah, again, we've seen pace from Japan at times. I think they've got a chance of a top 6 today if they can get their headband down, and off they go. It's
Tosai Moriyama for Japan. Used to be a Honda-supported driver. That support came to an end at the end of 2023, but he's still been one of the front runners and a podium finisher within Japanese F4 this weekend, this season, I should say. For Australia, it is Griffin Peebles who lines up on the grid. He won the Formula Winter Series for F4 cars during the winter months in Iberia, and has been racing in Spain, 9th in Formula 4 this year. He's also had the occasional outing in Italian and Spanish and UK. Going back a season, came out of karting. There is, just to prove how global Formula 4 is, there's a support race of the Mexican Grand Prix for F4 cars, the North America, Canada, Mexico Championship having races. So there's a dozen or so drivers there that couldn't commit to come and race for a nation over here. There for the Czech Republic is Max Kahan, 4 times a race winner in the Central European Zone F4 competition this year. So another guy with good pace and one of the more creative helmet designs as well, looking at the top of his lid.
Yeah, really cool, and hopefully he'll get to see a different form of Czech flag at the end of the race, and hopefully he'll be the first to see it.
Well, he's got some work to do, hasn't he, from where he is on the grid, which is 9th. Now, Griffin Peebles, we've just touched on, the Australian driver. He is going to be starting 8th on the grid for this race. Let's hear from the Antipodean before we race.
Griffin, Formula 4 have been so involved with the Motorsport Games since its inception. What does it mean to be a part of it?
I mean, I've driven this car in this sort of championships for 2 years now, so it's great to represent my country in the FIA Games. Qualifying was a little bit difficult. We had a purple sector in my best lap, but a couple of mistakes. And in the qualifying race, I unfortunately stalled on the grid, but we came back from 21st all the way back to 8th, so we should have a pretty good chance to maybe fight for some medals.
Now this is bound to be a very competitive race. We've got all the same car, the Tatuus F4 car here. How have you found driving it over the course of this weekend particularly?
The conditions have been a bit tricky. We've had a bit of a wet qualifying. Overall, the car's been all right. We haven't had any other issues, and it seems to be quite equal, so I'm happy about that.
All the best. Thank you very much.
Griffin Peebles used to the car, but now doing a different environment. Even though he's done the bulk of his racing over in Spain, what you can't do for this event is run with the same team for whom you drive in Spanish F4. If you're one of those people that thought, aha, I'll go and do Spanish F4 as a bit of prep for the Motorsport Games, well, okay, you might well know the car, you might know the circuit a bit, but you can't drive for the same team, and that does at least level things a little bit. 2 years ago, it was one central team running the operation, KCMG. This year it's a bit different. They're all Spanish F4 teams, but you can't drive, like I say, for your regular squad.
Yeah, it's good to keep it open and unbiased as much as you can. Interesting one there for Austria as we look at Greece. Oscar Wirtz, obviously son of Formula F1 driver, had a British flag on the side. You're good with your trivia, Dave. Don't know if you know what the link is at all there. I assume it's a mother. I'll come back to you.
The brains, yes, get back to me on that.
But yeah, the Greek car we're seeing there, the drivers always going to a different state of trance, don't they? The Greek driver looking quite exuberant as we go to Brazil there, looking a bit more relaxed.
And there, further down the order, is for Serbia, Andrija Kostic, who's all smiles, ready to go. Again, a quick Carter, and he's done a lot of F4 this year in Italy as well as the Central European zone. He's been driving for the very experienced Van Amersfoort team. So the grid now starting to clear. We've had the 3-minute board. There'll be a 1-minute board and then the formation lap. Now, 30 minutes. It's quite a long race, and I shall yawn with my mouth closed, I promise. But tell me about tyres then and the regulation for that and how you've got to look after them all the way through the weekend, Joe.
Yeah, so these guys have been on the tyres since qualifying. So they've done qualifying, done a qualifying race, and now they've got to finish a 30-minute race. That's the lifetime of the tyre is right at the end. So they'll be safe, but they won't be fast, that's for sure. And we saw, didn't we, at the end of an FP2 session, that the tyres were going down to canvas after a few big lockups. And obviously that's easier done as the grip starts to fall away. So I expect that to be the nature of the race. I'm going to see a hard and fast start, frenetic while the cars are close, and then I think it's going to go into a slight tyre management phase, and then a second phase as people start to lock up. So if you can wake yourself back up, David, I think the tyre element of it is going to add a huge level of excitement.
Indeed so, and we'll see how that management plays out. Would a team change the corners that the tyres have been on, or just completely duplicate what they did yesterday? You know, if one's a bit more warm than the other, would you switch a corner over?
Yeah, it's a really good point, because here at Valencia there's a lot more left-handers than right-handers. So the front right would be the most punished tyre, followed by the rear right, then the rear left, then the front left. So yeah, the teams will be picking those tyres. They'll be looking at them, checking which has got the least amount of graining, which has got the biggest amount of rubber left, looking through the wear marks on the tyre. So yeah, that is a very good option for these teams.
The 1-minute board has been shown. The grid is now cleared. The last engineers stay there to fire up the engine. Then they will make their way from the track. And they hope that for the next half an hour, they're not going to be needed, because if they are, it means the car's got a problem. So there you can see the grid, as I say, everybody, same car, engine, tyre combination, different teams operating them, and some drivers have been really quick learners. Spain could be on for a 5th gold here on home soil. There is the orange car of Juan Cota at the very front, and the final marshal will have the 15-second board, and they will scurry to the pit lane, and the drivers on instruction will then be released. We are within that last minute, so in the end of the 15 seconds, the red light will go out and the green light will indicate that the green flag lap can be underway. For Team España then, Juan Cota is on pole position, but the pace yesterday of the Peruvian, Andrés Cardenas, who was the gold medal winner in karting sprint junior 2 years ago, was really impressive. I think it's going to be a good fight between those two, and there was one car a little bit sluggish away there. Yeah,
Sri Lanka, you can just see on the writer's shop, fighting its way back to get up to 3rd. The United Kingdom staying out of their way. As long as you're going back to last place, you can reclaim your spot, but what's the last thing you'd want to do as a driver on your practice start is stall. Next time Sri Lanka get a chance to get a fast getaway is race start, so that will be playing on the back of their mind.
Let's look at the grid then for the F4 Main race for the medals. Juan Cota on pole position for Spain. Peru lining up second. That's Andres Cardenas. Sri Lanka will start third ahead of the United Kingdom. Yevan David and Reza Seaworthen ahead of Slovakia's Matus Riva. And for Israel, sixth, it's Ariel Alkin. Seventh, it's Japan. Tosai Moriyama ahead of Australian Griffin Peebles. Ninth for Czechia, the Czech Republic, is Max Kahan. And for Greece, Filip Karas. 11th, Oscar Wurz for Austria. And Serbia's Andrea Kostic will start 12th. 13th, Brazilian Matheus Comparato, and the Maltese driver Niki Gauchi for his nation, his first race weekend in F4, starting 14th ahead of Angola's Lorenzo Campos, and for Norway, Olav Var. Luxembourg's Chester Kiefer is on the 9th row. For Portugal, it is Francisco Machido. Then the Hong Kong-China driver Keishan Liu is alongside Argentina's Gino Trappa, and Qatar's Beda Al-Sulaiti rounds out the grid.
Yeah, great to see such a full grid, all the drivers working as hard as they can, the more confident drivers able to get the rear of the car sliding as well to really help the surface temperature. Very light, these cars, of course, the smallest single-seater we have on the proper ladder up to F1, so not as much weight and energy then in the tyre to get the tyre temperature, so it will still take a couple of laps. Very easy to grain this tyre as well, actually. I've done a bit of testing in them this year, and the teams are very adamant you need 3 to 4 laps of building tyre pressure, tyre temperature. If you push too hard too early, you can grain the surface off the tyre, and then it affords you less grip, and it only gets worse, and it is a slippery slope, quite literally, all the way then to the end of the race for that driver.
So Spain, Italy, Germany, the top three in the medal table. There is, strangely, no German nor Italian representation on this grid, but it's a Spanish driver on pole position. So another gold, certainly another medal, ought to be up for grabs here. The fans in the grandstand, the many flags in the grandstand already. And for 30 minutes then, this long race, tyre management, as we've touched on, is going to be important. And the final few cars now slotting into place. The one-by-one staggered grid stretching all the way back towards turn 14. Drivers are in place then, and so we now look towards the lighting gantry. Medals on the line for the Formula 4 main race here at the FIA Motorsport Games. 5 red lights are on. The lights go out now. It is blast off, and who makes the best start? It's a good getaway, certainly from Spain. Not a great start in contrast by Peru, but Spain already with a big, big gap. Sri Lanka trying to find a way past Peru. The United Kingdom is in the mix as well as they dive to turn 1. Peru goes second, Sri Lanka third, but it's Spain not only in the lead, but almost away and gone by about 3 lengths as they all jockey for position up towards turn 2. Dive into the corner. So far, so good for the leading positions. The midfield battle turns through safe as well, but a demon start by Spain. Juan Cota leads the pack.
Couldn't be better as we see our move to the inside. Israel Aiken, down to the inside, gets the move done, look clean as well. A couple of lockups in two it was, wasn't it? Reza Seaworthen from the United Kingdom, I think was one there. Peru with a poor start, and that has really helped. See Australia around the outside pebbles, see the car bottom out over that large exit curb out of T6. So far, so good for everybody.
Yeah, that was with the Slovakian driver Matus Riva on the inside of Griffin Peebles for Australia as the cars now dive down towards turn number 8 on the outside line. Number 1, the Argentine driver, that is Gino Trappa, trying to gain ground as up front. Juan Cota leads the pack coming up through turn number 11. There, Australia back past Slovakia, but look, that lead gap has come down, hasn't it? It might have been a good start by Juan Cota, but now Peru, Andres Cardenas is going after him. He's taking Sri Lanka and the United Kingdom with him, so Cota's initial advantage is being nibbled away as they get up towards turn 13 for the first time. There's that leading quartet breaking clear of Ariel Alkin, who's had a good first lap and made some progress, but a contact there. And who is it that gets spat out wide? It is Austria's Oscar Wurz, and he's going to be in the pits. Broken suspension. Yeah. Things have just gone from bad to Wurz.
Oh, awful there for him and you. Great move by Australia, I have to say, on the brakes into T11, and he looks like he's got pace as well as another move. The inside, is there going to be contact there? No, just avoided. I think that was the Serbian car there. Australia all the way back on another lock-up. These guys pushing very, very hard early on. Luxembourg looking to make advantage. Serbia needs to be careful looking after these tyres, but we are getting some battle packs. Everyone with elbows out. Definitely more aggressive in this main race where the medals are awarded at the end of it.
And Oscar Wirtz then into the pit lane, and that tells the story, doesn't it? The damaged rear suspension. It's game over, effectively, sadly. We've also got Hong Kong China's Keishan Liu under investigation straight off for a track limit warning. So, race battle is on lap number 2. It is Spain, from Peru, from Sri Lanka, from the United Kingdom. And I would offer you that the UK is just dropping off the back slightly from that leading 3, but there are other battles lower down to keep an eye to, including there you can see the Czech car of Max Carhan trying to get itself into the equation. Oops, more contact as he gets there into the back of Greece's Philipp Arman, and out of the race definitely now is Carhan. And the Czech Republic car is in the gravel, and I think Greece is going to be out as well with rear damage.
Yeah, it just looked like the Czech Republic a little bit too desperate, trying to mirror that move that Australia did so well the lap before, but the Greek car just put it to the inside, and that left nowhere for the Czech car to go. I expect a safety car to be coming. I don't think we're going to get it this lap, but it probably will be gone, because I think that car, we start to see cars running very wide in the background, and I could barely see Peru. They are that tight to the rear wing of Spain in for the lead.
And the yellow flag is at turn 11, where the car of Czech Republic's in the gravel. Change for the race lead, because up the inside, oh so nearly goes Peru to get the place. That's going to put Cardenas on the outside line for the next corner. The road comes back to Spain. Sri Lanka in the mix as well. It's absolutely nose to tail, the top 3 as they come down out of turn 4. That was a first big proper push by Peru to go for the lead. It didn't work, and now the problem that Cardenas has for Peru, Andres Cardenas, is that as he tries to find a way through for the lead, he's in danger of giving Sri Lanka a chance to jump him for second place. But if they squabble like that, it's going to bring Reza Seaworthen back into the mix. Whether he's struggling for pace or whether he's looking after his tyres at the moment, only he will tell you. But as he comes down to turn 8, they're not far off that yellow flag zone.
Yeah, I had a lock-up from someone in the top 3 as well, as we see the damage to the Greek car rear wing is pretty heavily deformed. What are Sri Lanka going to do? Are they going to try and attack Peru, or is he going to place the car and just say to Peru, safety car called? They will start to slow down. You can see safety car board up. Everyone's so far checking up well. No radios in these cars, so the drivers having to rely on the old school method of looking for the flags and the signal boards. I was just wondering, are Sri Lanka going to attack, or are they going to sit behind Peru and allow Peru to try and open the door, use Spain to open it and then follow through? Interesting to see, but this is going to bunch everyone up. I wonder if the United Kingdom have got the pace to stay with that top 3 once we go back to green.
Well, safety car conditions, as you say, are now instigated, so that means everybody has to slow. They can't overtake, and it gives the marshals plenty of time to work. I don't think we're going to need a safety car out for that long, because already, as the drivers come down towards turn 1, the recovery vehicle is there. So the car needs moving, yes. The recovery vehicle needs to go back to its perch, but the car from the Czech Republic in the gravel trap, virtually at the feet of the little recovery truck that is needed to crane it out of the way. And the car, I can see in the distance, is already being lifted. So this is a really quick job. I reckon 1 lap and we'll be back racing.
Yeah, it could even be safety car in this lap. I've actually never seen that before, where it's out and in on 1 lap. But the marshals doing a fantastic job here at Valencia all weekend. In this instant, no different. The cars there all just starting, still try and weave to get even more tyre temperature.
Keep the pressures up, I guess, as well. The safety car released from pit exit, so the safety car conditions were activated going to turn 12, but it's 1 full lap behind the safety car once they've come over the line. So I reckon we might well be able to get things back underway at the end of this single lap. Let's try and see, though. First of all, what happened at the start?
Yeah, Peru just a little late to get going, and a few cars there to get slow away. Greece were one of them. Then Sri Lanka were on the attack, weren't they? But like you said, look at Spain. That's perfect. No defence needed into turn 1, because you've got 3 to 4 car lengths advantage as they turn in for that 4th corner. And then there's a few lockups further back, but it stayed pretty clean on this opening part of the lap.
That was a good dive by Israel, wasn't it, up on the inside of Slovakia, and Australia being caught out a little bit there, forced onto the outside line. Griffin Peebles then trying to make his attack later in the lap. This was the contact that did for Wirtz, getting involved with Chosai Moriyama from Japan, and Oscar Wirtz straight away realises that's his day done, and this was the reason for the safety car, which is in at the end of the lap. Czech Republic into the back of Greece and into the gravel.
Yeah, messy.
And into the pits is going to come the safety car. So Juan Cota has slowed everybody up. So it was just that 1 lap. And around the 4 kilometre or so circuit, it was well timed that. The marshals quickly able to get the car out of the way. So can Peru strike on the restart, or will Sri Lanka strike? Oh, so slowly does Juan Cota bring the cars. This isn't even into turn 13 yet, but he is in charge of the pace, such as it is. He will decide when to go. He wants to try and steal the march on everybody like he did from a standing start. In your own time, Spain. Here they come now. He pulls the pin into turn 14, and he has indeed jumped about 2 lengths on Peru as they come out of the last corner up towards the timing line now. The lights will be back on green. The green flags will fly. The race is back underway. 22 minutes remain on the clock in the F4 medal race here, the main race at Valencia in the FIA Motorsport Games, down towards turn 1. And actually, Peru has shaken off Sri Lanka.
Yeah, United Kingdom, good start. Israel probably the best, closest to the car in front, but no positions changed just yet. You can see the cars going down the straight, weaving, trying to break the toe. The slipstream effect so strong in these low-powered, relatively low-powered single-seaters, 185 horsepower. So if you can get a slipstream, there's a couple of kilometres an hour for free there. At the moment, no one's sending a lunge. Cars all tight together. So far, so good on this restart.
And there's Spain, again, having tried to build that gap. It is now looking a little bit more like just the two of them, because Sri Lanka trying to fend off the UK. Yevan David just ahead of Reza Seaworthen as they come up through turn number 6 now. And Juan Cota, the race leader for Spain, still conscious of where Peru is. He has got a little bit of daylight between him and the Peruvian entry, but he had that on the first lap of the race, and it was soon nibbled away. Brazil versus Portugal there on the inside for Brazil. Matheus Comparato, and he hangs on to that place. So a good move, keeping him ahead of Francisco Machido.
Yeah, quite aggressive with the defence, Brazil on Portugal there. Not losing too much time though, are they? Staying with Kostic in front of them at the moment. But if you start to defend, you will lose time. Cars sweeping out wide, using the curb, exit curb there, can bottom out these F4 cars. We saw a couple of snaps of oversteer. It will get better as the race goes on because the tyre pressures build. The tyre effectively has a higher tyre wall, so you don't bottom out quite as much. Bit of a slide for Peru out of the last corner. Got to look after these tyres. Still 20 minutes of this race remaining, even with that safety car intervention.
And you've got that leading line of 4 or so, but then a little bit of a gap starting to emerge. Then the next pair taking you down through Australia and Slovakia. And Ariel Elkin is the one that's dropped back into 7th place. So he's quite good on the restart, but has lost out around the lap. So there is Ariel Elkin. He's lost 2 places, and I would suggest as well he has dropped away slightly into the clutches, therefore, of Japan and Luxembourg. Now, Luxembourg is worthy of a cheer because Chester Kiefer started 17th on the grid, and he's up into 9th place. That's quite a good first few laps.
Yeah, 8 places. The safety car would have been his friend, obviously bunching everyone back up. So where can he get to? Already well inside the top 10. Pace looking strong. Japan is next on his radar. We saw how aggressive Japan were on Austria at turn 14. So maybe he needs to bide his time, make sure the move is clean. Portugal still trailing behind Brazil there. If we look at the back of the field, Angola having a race with Qatar and Malta just in front.
So they swing their way now up through turn 11. A big effort being made against Luxembourg by Serbia. So that's still 9th and 10th. Luxembourg, Chester Kiefer having gone through the lap before, but now coming under renewed attack. Chester Kiefer, who has been racing in the French Formula 4 Championship, winner at Lebanon, winner at Spa as well, and coached by Stefan Dowdy, former sports car and GT racer himself. A big lock-up there comes out of Tosai Moriyama's Japanese entry. Up towards the timing line, though, comes the race leader. 4/10 of a second clear last time was Spain, and this time half a second clear is Spain. Juan Cota having also done just the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, it's tight between the top 3. Sri Lanka look like they've just closed in a tiny bit on Peru in front. You see a lunge from Angola on Qatar there. Was a big lock-up from Japan. You can really only afford 5 or 6 of them in a race on a given side, otherwise you will be down to the canvas, and then the flat spot will start to grow and grow, and your performance and your fillings will start to degrade at an equal rate.
So still, in these early stages, people arguing over position. So we've lost, sadly, Greece, the Czech Republic and Austria. But the battle of nations for the young guns of single-seater racing continues. Spain ahead of Peru, ahead of Sri Lanka. They're going through. In number 14 is Kai Shun Lu for Hong Kong, China. And he in turn now makes that run through turn 13 and down the other side of the circuit. Sorry, down to turn 8, I should say, over the brow down towards the long looping left-hander. This sort of paperclip style with all of the infield folded into the rectangle of the perimeter of the facility at Valencia. There is the Hong Kong-China car once more. So Kai Shun Lu still going strongly, but 14th place. So there's work to be done to gain ground before the end as you look at Yevon David, who was really good across qualifying, but lost out of it in the qualifying race. Right now, though, I would offer you he's coming back at Peru. Yeah,
the gaps are just ebbing and flowing, aren't they? United Kingdom actually looks like they've had a good lap, and they're going to try and cut the deficit to the top 3. I do think Australia look quick as well, but then that gap has grown to the back of the United Kingdom. Quite equidistant, aren't they? All the way down the back of the field. I think the closest gap is between Luxembourg and Japan, 0.3 of a second. So can Luxembourg keep that trend going and keep climbing up the order?
Fastest lap of the race, Peru now. Look, Andres Cardenas, quicker than anybody as he brings the gap to 0.528 of a second against Spain. Yevon David for Sri Lanka getting away from a sideways Seaworthen there. Reza Seaworthen hangs onto a big slide, but there's not much suggestion of tyre management at the moment. They're all still pushing hard.
Yeah, I think they're flat out. I think the big snap for United Kingdom there, Seaworthen, was he just used too much apex curb and the floor bottomed out, took the weight off the wheels, and it snapped round. You could see him violently have to give it a load of left hand down to stop the car over-rotating and putting him into the gravel trap. Looks like he's calmed down a bit now, under braking into turn number 8, hooks up the apex curb really well all the way through. So let's see. I think he takes a bit too much apex. Sri Lanka have got it perfect. Look at the deflection on the front right. Reza there just cutting it even more, and then it unsettles the car. Look at his hands all the way around, over 90 degrees opposite lock, snaps back to the position he needs to stop the car from spinning out. Great car control, great camera work, and it really shows you the energy and action involved in these Formula 4 cars.
Reza Seaworthen with a big lock-up coming out of turn 13 into 14. He's been a race winner in the British F4 Championship this season, but has fallen off the back slightly of Sri Lanka this time, as the lead gap last time was 0.528 of a second. Spain to Peru, it's down, it's 0.453. It's game on now, isn't it, with about half the race to go. We've just approached 15 minutes.
Yeah, last 2 laps for Peru have been brilliant. United Kingdom, here we see Portugal on the inside of Brazil, both speaking the same language. Can that language barrier mean that they don't hit each other? They look good at the moment. Brazil giving space to Portugal. Argentina to the inside as well. Brazil looks like they're going to lose 2 spaces in 2 corners.
Indeed so. Brazil drops back then because Argentina goes through. So same languages, and then it all becomes a bit South American. Argentina goes ahead of Brazil as well. It's a bit of a surprise that Comparato hasn't gone better, bearing in mind that he's been the Brazilian Championship leader this year, 3 times a winner, champion-elect indeed. So in theory, you'd expect him to be up there fighting for wins. Got a good CV, but it's just not clicked for him this weekend.
Yeah, struggling. He won't be saying obrigado, will he, to the 2 cars in front of him now. And he doesn't look like he can stay with them either. Argentina with good pace, number 1 on the car. So he's just now got to try and follow Portugal. Where can Portugal get to? Just outside the top 10 at the moment. And they've got a chance of catching those cars in front, only a second behind. The gap has grown a little bit back in favour of Spain, and Cota Alonso now up to half a second to this car of Peru.
Which was all over the curb at turn 12 as Andres Cardenas was taking it by the scruff of the neck. Yevon David for Sri Lanka staying with them as best he can, possibly just waiting to see if they get themselves together and delay each other or even trip over each other. But of course now into the second half of the race, 14 minutes to go. He's running out of options. A flying lap is about 95 seconds. Down through turn 1 they go. So 9 laps to take us just over halfway. Up towards turn 2 they come. A 30-minute race in F4 is quite a long time, relatively speaking. So it's tough for the drivers, tough for the tyres. And right now, that lead gap, 0.450 of a second. Spain leads Peru.
Yeah, Peru seems to have a stronger end of the lap, and then Spain just go away. Sri Lanka look like they're just about hanging on. Remember, they're probably gaining 2 to 3 tenths of a second with slipstream, and as soon as you lose that, as soon as the gap gets to a second, that slipstream effect becomes weaker and weaker to a point of no effect. And I think that's what the United Kingdom are now doing. They're 1.1 behind the Sri Lankan car. I think they might be losing the slipstream, and they're losing a chance of any chance of a medal at the end of this race.
Indeed, so just dropping away as out of turn 14, out of turn 8, I should say, comes the Peru car, Andres Cardenas. He's lost a little bit of ground on this lap. At the 10th or so lost in the first sector. Yevon David next, but a personal best first sector coming from Reza Seaworthen. So even though he looks as though he's falling away from the top three, the pace that he's got in sector 1 suggests that he is fighting back, and he's quicker again than Sri Lanka in sector 2. So Seaworthen mounting another attack here. Don't rule him out of a medal yet.
He obviously heeded to my advice that he was losing the slipstream and is digging deep. Any lock up this time to 14? No, the drivers can change the brake bias. It's a very effective tool. We actually spoke to each other, Reza and I, and his driver coach Ricky Christodoulou, saying how important that is. You've got to be able to use it to your advantage. It can go forwards, it can go backwards, an infinite amount of times a lap as well, and it can be such a good way of changing the balance of your car on the fly.
More battles rage on down towards turn 1. Look a little bit further down the order, as there you've got the battle between Hong Kong, China and Norway. Olav Var for Norway on the back of Keishan Liu for Hong Kong, China. It's still Spain in the lead, and in fairness to Juan Cota, he's driving very impressively here. He might not be able to escape, but he's not putting a wheel wrong, he's not making mistakes, and he's coping very impressively with all the pressure.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's leery at all, does it? Car's in control. I even like the angle of his head as he's going into turn 6 there. It's looking in so early. His neck is swiveling at a good 45, 50 degrees into the corner, which to me shows that he's looking ahead. He's nice and calm. He's planning his route. Nothing's going to surprise him. He now just needs the most metronomic 12 minutes of his life to keep pumping in these lap times and keep the gap at 0.6 of a second. He would be relatively comfortable with that for the rest of this race.
There going through is the Slovakia entry, 6th. Matus Reba chasing after Griffin Peebles, the Australian. Peebles going after Seaworthen, who on this lap is a little bit in no man's land. He's not really on the back and is still trying to chase, but the Sri Lankan car. But he's actually lost a bit of ground, so he's got these yo-yo laps, one good, one bad, and another massive lockup from Seaworthen for UK coming down towards turn 14. He's got away with that, but he has again lost time, and he is falling away from the top 3 very definitely now.
Yeah, I think he's got a couple more of them, and then he will be losing half a second a lap with the tyre problem that he would be creating for himself. I wonder if he got a track limit there as well. He would have done well not to run wide at the moment. He's showing a 0 track limit warnings. The only driver inside the top 9 cars to have all of his lives left if he wants to use them up, letting the car run a little bit wide out some of these corners.
And Spain on this lap getting away, 0.6 the margin. Remember, it was down to 0.4 and we said it was game on. It's up to 0.6 now, and Andres Cardenas fighting the car, looking as he goes even wider than normal out of turn 5, as though he's having to work that bit harder now even to stay with the leader, never mind think about the attack. So Juan Cota now perhaps is just going to be able to turn up the wick. Maybe he's looked after the tyres that little bit better. I suppose if you're in the dirty air of being in second place, you are inevitably going to use the rubber more, aren't you?
Yeah, going to use the front tyre a lot more, you're correct, with the wash from the car in front, have to add a bit more lock to get the same amount of steering rotation from the car, because you are lacking that downforce, because the air that's hitting the front part of the car over the wing isn't as dense as the clean air that is afforded to Cota Alonso. And I think he's trying to drop the hammer, isn't he? Up to 0.8 now after the first 2 sectors on this lap. He'll be looking at his pit board as well, just with time remaining, just planning out how he wants the last part of this race to go.
And I think there's a battle brewing between the United Kingdom and Australia, because Griffin Peebles is shaking off Slovakia, Matus Reba, and he's going after Rita Seaworthen. So for 4th place, there's a battle brewing, as I say. There is the Angolan driver, which is Lorenzo Campos, and he, I think, has got himself ahead this lap of the Qatar driver, Badr Al Saiti. The leaders go through, and the lead gap now is 0.9 of a second. And if it really stretches out a little bit more to over a second, then psychologically, Peru, Andres Cardenas, is going to feel really defeated. He's sat there, and there's been nothing he can do, and gradually, 10th by 10th, he's fallen away from the race leader, and now it seems there's no comeback. But Peebles here for Australia, with that car by the scruff of the neck, going after Seaworthen for the UK.
Yeah, hustling on well. You can tell he's got a couple of years' experience in that car. Just gives you the confidence to the driver. It feels like you're part of it and nothing surprises you, so you can get it by the scruff of the neck and really hustle it on. You're right with Peru, it's easy to become defeatist. The gap's getting bigger, but if there's a mistake and you're closer, the closer you are, the better chance you are of getting that position. So that's got to be where you dig deep and mentally keep pushing yourself all the way through. Easy to get negative and defeatist, but it's the exact opposite mentality you need when you're trying to chase down a gold medal.
race leaders then in the meantime work lap 13, 8 minutes to go as we look once more at the fight going on between Hong Kong, China and Norway for 14th place, where it is Kai-Shun Liu fending off Ola Va, and behind them, trying to join them, is Nicky Gauchi, the Maltese driver, who, when we saw the cars in free practice, was having spins. Indeed, he was tagged into a spin, in fairness to him, but he had his own dramas. But he has very quietly got on with the job over the weekend and has just got faster and faster and faster. First time he's been in an F4 race this weekend, having never raced the cars he's tested, but not raced before. But for Malta, Nicky Gauchi has been quietly impressive over the weekend.
Yep, the rate of improvement was very good and very strong, so he should be proud of himself, and it gives him a good chance next year of seeing where he should be and where he should be going in his career. So many good F4 championships around the world. It's almost quite overwhelming for some of these drivers to work out where they should be placing themselves at which point of their career. Make one wrong move and suddenly your path to F1 suddenly seems a lot more uphill.
Does indeed, and there into the pit lane is Campos then. So having just touched on the Angolan driver having lost a place, he's got a problem seemingly because he's come down the pit lane, and so Lorenzo Campos is, I fear, heading for the paddock rather than rejoining. But Juan Cota, 11/10 of a second up the road, now is on lap number 14. He has got just under 7 minutes of the race to go, and it looks as though it's going to be a 5th gold medal for Spain, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. They've done a mega job all the way through the race, and it's just flowing to them even more. Just getting a pit stop penalty of 1 second for track limits to car number 3, currently in 17th place, the Qatar driver Al Sutari, and it's going to be probably a pit stop and go, isn't it? We had that, so that is a big penalty. That's going to be 30 seconds lost, and that may give a chance for Angola to get back in front, who obviously just did their own pit stop.
Leaders go by, so you've got now 1.3 seconds. Spain to Peru, 3rd is Sri Lanka, 4th it is the UK, 5th Australia, 6th Slovakia, and as the drivers turn now through turn 1, gaps just starting to open up a little bit. The qualifying race was rather more frantic than this, but maybe as 1 or 2 drivers have learned a little bit more, they're able to put that to good effect, and they're in for his pit stop. Penalty to be served is Qatar's Beda Al Sulaiti. He'll drive down the pit lane, he'll do that stop and then rejoin. And there's a black flag there, I notice. We've got Argentina being given a time penalty as well. And is it for, yes, track limits again?
Yeah, the Angolan car, isn't it? Car number 20. I don't know if they've already served that and that's why they were already in the pits, or that's the second time the Angolan car is going to have to come in to pit lane as we go with 5 minutes remaining of this race. The United Kingdom has stopped the rot, haven't they? And they haven't gone into the clutches of Australia there, so they've done a good job to rally their pace.
But we have a 5-second time penalty coming for Sri Lanka in 3rd place. Yevon David has been given 5 seconds for track limits, and now make that 10 seconds. Yevon David has been given a 5 and then a 10. Same for Argentina, 5 and then 10 for track limits. There's another penalty in the mix for Kai-Shun Liu, and he's got a final warning. But for the man in 3rd place, 15 seconds worth of penalties. Well, that's going to give the UK a bronze medal.
Yeah, we saw the UK lose a gold medal yesterday on penalties to track limits. I have to say, as I mentioned earlier, Reza Seaworthy with 0 track limit warnings. That is incredible discipline. Yeah. And I would say that was probably a strategy from the team. The driver coach, Ricky Christou, I mentioned earlier, Phil Glue would have just said, listen, everyone's getting track limit penalties. We may not have the out-and-out pace, but if we can stay clean, that's our best chance. And at the moment, that strategy seems to be paying off very handsomely. And
a drive-through penalty for Argentina with enough penalties knocking about. So now that's the ultimate, a drive-through coming. Beda Al Sulaiti out of the race. He's decided that he was last anyway, so kind of enough is enough. The DriveX team operating that car will pack it away. So the leader is on 3 track limit warnings, 3 for the 2nd place driver, 5 and a penalty. Or 2 now, in fact, coming for Yevon David in 3rd place. And Reza Seaworthy has just picked up his 1st.
Well, he's heard me then. Thank you, Reza. You've done a good job there. But should have time to not, well, shouldn't have any enough time to accumulate any more. But maybe we need to be a bit careful of the first 2 there.
He's now got 2.
Okay.
Keep quiet, Osborne.
Okay.
It's at turn 4, and then the next lap at turn 2. Reza Seaworthen has caught bees, but he's still not doing as badly as some of those ahead. But maybe now the tyres are starting to cry enough, because he's had a few lockups. That's why he's struggling a little bit more and running wide. However, the race has got 3 minutes to go. It is Spain, Peru, and on the road, third, Sri Lanka. So Reza Seaworthen, he's on target to inherit bronze if he keeps out of trouble. Drive-through penalty now for Hong Kong, China's Kei Shun Lu, again for track limits.
Yeah, it's coming thick and fast, aren't they? The stewards and race control are being very on the black and white here with the penalties. Sri Lanka really almost felt like they went from no warning to a 10-second penalty, and it's still growing as well, isn't it? So and it's hard without having a radio to the drivers. They're just having to look at their pit board. Each team has their signal of doing it. A lot of teams actually turn the whole pit board upside down to show the driver track limits. That's their international signal of calm down, please. There isn't normally a board saying track limits on that pit board, because it would be pretty hard to read as you fly past at 125 miles an hour, 200 kilometers an hour past that pit board.
And a black flag then for car number 1. There's been a drive-through, and now a black flag is going the way of Argentina. So at that point, the race director has just had enough of all the infringements. Meantime, on the track, it is Spain from Peru, and the gap is 1.2 seconds. And last time around, fractionally faster, but only by 100th, was Peru. So maybe we're not done yet, as equally further back, 6th, 7th, 8th, Slovakia, Israel, and Japan running as one. So there are still places up for grabs, even though we've only got just over a minute and a half to go. Now, this could be the start of the last lap as the leader goes through. So Juan Cota breaks the beam with, as I say, it's going to be close. This a flying lap is 1 minute 36. So down towards turn 1 they go at the end of this 30-minute race for the Formula 4 drivers. The main race, medals on the line, and they're heading the way seemingly of Spain, Sri Lanka, and then the UK will inherit bronze, and it is confirmed. This is the last lap, and what a drive by Spain. What a drive by Juan Cota.
Yeah, got a great gap. He can now just afford just to hit his marks a little bit more relaxed. Doesn't have to worry too much about being on the limit, finding the fast last part of that lap time. You can see this front right tyre, the graining, the middle band looks darker. That's because it's a rough grain. So he's done so well to keep this pace up. Maybe he's just pushed a little bit too hard at the end, and that's the problem. United Kingdom, I'm not going to talk about your track limits, but they haven't got any more than the 2 that they got in quick succession after I said they were doing a great strategy of getting 0.
It is going to be gold for Spain. For Juan Cota, it's going to be P1 at the end of this lap, isn't it, as he comes now out of turn 8. It'll be a 5th gold for Spain, the medal table leaders, and they're not done yet as well. There could be more to come with all the other disciplines that are being resolved today. Bouncing over the curb then, heading now up to the final couple of corners, turn 13, and then the tighter left at 14 beckons for Juan Cota. For Spain, here he comes then, the checkered flag at the ready. It's going to be another very, very popular result. It has been a great drive to control the pace after that safety car period. Gold for Spain in Formula 4. Juan Cota wins for his country. Andres Cardenas second for Peru. Yevon David third over the line for Sri Lanka, with actually Reza Seaworthen much, much closer at the back by about half a second as they came over the line. And Seaworthen will, on corrected times, inherit the bronze medal. It's a really happy Spanish team, isn't it? And Juan Cota deserved that gold medal because that was a mightily impressive drive.
Yeah, really, really good. I can't think of a single point of that race where I think he put a foot wrong. One of the most dominant starts, great safety car restart, great pace all the way through, and pretty clean and tidy on his track limits warning. So 10 out of 10 from me for Cota Alonso and Spain. They've been the dominant nation so far in their home hosting of the Motorsport Games, and Formula 4 seem to be no different whatsoever there. So yeah, the final results, Spain, Peru from the United Kingdom. So in the end, it was a battle of Paddington Bear between second and third, wasn't it? And United Kingdom will be happy with that bronze medal.
Yeah, for sure. And in the end, that penalty, or 2 penalties of 15 seconds for Yevon David, dropped him to 11th place. So because it was, one consistent line of cars, 15 seconds worth really, really hurt. Kei Shun Lu ended up 15th after his penalties, and still the order is being amended on the timing screen. But we know it is going to be then Spain from Peru from the UK, and there is a very happy Juan Cota.
Just running wide like all drivers are taught from an early age, just to get the pickup and just to help with the weight of the car, to help the ride height of the car. And obviously you see it all the way up through to Formula One. One of the reasons they think George Russell struggled to get through post-race scrutiny at Spa this year, wasn't it? Just didn't have time to get pickup because they turned him straight into the pit lane after turn number 1. So yeah, there's not too much pickup at the moment. Truck have done a good job. Sometimes you see drivers, if they're super desperate, even going off the track onto the runoff, trying to find the really dirty parts. But yeah, they should be fine as they come into pit lane at the end of a very good 30-minute race.
So there are still 1 or 2 positions to confirm, but the top 3 we have had confirmed on the message line. Spain, Peru, United Kingdom, the medal winners, and that is Peru's first medal of the Games, I'm correct in saying. It is, for the United Kingdom, a second bronze to go with 2 silvers and a 5th gold for Spain. So the host nation is looking very good. I think it was Italy, wasn't it, that was the winning nation 2 years ago in France, but in Spain it could be a home win, looking at how things are panning out thus far. Peru got the fastest lap, but then in that second half of the race, Andres Cardenas just did not seem to have the pace, did he? And he fell away.
Yeah, faded, maybe just peaked a little early, pushing hard. See the fans, family, teams waiting for those first 3 cars to make their way to this stage podium. It's a great thing to have in motorsport. Definitely adds a lot more drama.
So the provisional result, a win for Spain by 1.3 seconds from Peru and United Kingdom 3rd, Israel 4th, Japan 5th and Luxembourg 6th. And bearing in mind that 17th was where Luxembourg started, Chester Kiefer was probably the driver of the race. Australia 7th in the end, ahead of Serbia, Slovakia and then Portugal. Sri Lanka with many penalties 11th, ahead of Norway, Malta, Brazil and Hong Kong, China. Argentina was black flagged. Retirement to the pit lane for Qatar, Angola and a crash sorted out Greece and Czech Republic. So it was a lively start and a very, very well measured drive by Spain. As out of the car now comes a very, very happy Juan Cota. And again, people say, does the FIA Motorsport Games matter? You reckon he's not happy? You reckon that doesn't matter to him? A delighted driver, a great drive. And for Team Spain, it's another gold. And the enormity of what that means to a young driver looking to make a career in single-seater racing and get to Formula One. There's all the evidence you need.
Yeah, pure ecstasy, isn't it? He can stay calm for 30 minutes and then suddenly you get this emotion, so much emotion you can't see the flag in front of your face trying to be handed to him. There's a few of the Spanish flags being there and he lofts it above his head. And yeah, great to see the raw emotion from him. And
just a really, really good defensive drive, wasn't it? You know, he didn't make a mistake. All right, there were, what, 3 track limit warnings in a 30-minute race on a 14-corner circuit, and he withstood the pressure. He was able to control that restart really, really well, get away, didn't abuse the tyres, didn't push too hard too soon and lock up and make a mess of them. That was a very, very impressive drive indeed. So we know that Spain has a pretty decent history of good racing drivers, good Formula One drivers, whether it's been a Carlos Sainz Jr. or Fernando Alonso. And for Juan Cota Alonso, to give him his full name, he could well be finding himself moving rapidly through the ranks, because that has put him not only as a winner on Spanish soil, but a winner on a very, very evident global platform.
Yeah, and the Spanish motorsport body, the ASN from Spain, have been really proactive this year, it feels, and you could see that with how many people Cota Alonso was having to thank, all there from the governing body. The governing bodies can do so much as a young driver. They obviously get quite a lot of funding, and they can then place that money with the talent they think's got the best chance to go all the way through the top. So yeah, again, this is why the Motorsport Games is great, bringing all the ASNs together and see who is the most committed for their nation.
So the drivers then will, for the top 3, head to the podium. A bit of frustration maybe for Reza Seaworthen from the UK that he couldn't quite stay with the top 3, but a medal goes his way anyway. But again, having to adapt to a new team and a new circuit, and up against people with a bit more track knowledge at least.
I don't think I've ever seen. So many thanks have to be paid. So obviously a popular lad, and yeah, it's a good mark after a race to see how the team reacts with a driver. Some drivers not always as popular as others with the team, depending on how they've been over the weekend. But I think Coach Alonso seems like a lovely young man, and the team definitely see the same. The FIA just weighing him there, making sure everything is okay. That will be added to the car weight, and yeah, everything suddenly gets a bit serious when the FIA man is stood over your shoulder.
With his scales, yes, it's not for Weight Watchers, that. It's for the regulations for the championship. Photographer Jacob Ebery in the red jacket behind, the official photographer for the event. And earpiece is out. Antonio Rankin is there ready to have a word. He's had to join the queue, I think, to get to Juan Cota after all the people he's had to go say thank you to. But we have our race winner. We have gold for Spain. And Juan Cota it is who is the race winner. Antonio Rankin is with a very happy young man.
Juan, you were absolutely incredible. Can you try and put it into words what it means?
No words for me. Here, lots of people here come to support me from all parts of Spain, my family, my team, my federation. I just want to say thanks to everyone. I want to dedicate this victory to my beautiful father. He will be supporting me since I have 4 years. And to my mother, he recently got out of a serious surgery, so he's getting better and better. So thank you so much.
I'm sure they'll be so proud of you as your fans are here today. What does it mean to represent Spain on a platform like this?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to all the people here to come to see me. It's amazing to have so many people here to support me here on the podium, around all the track, and people taking me photos or something. It feels amazing.
Go celebrate. Well done.
So Juan Cota will be given a very loud reception, I'm sure, in a few moments, once yet more photographs are done. Jacob Eber say, do that P1 finger salute that always sells a good picture. So Juan Cota responds, and they're in super slow-mo from early on in the race when he was under attack. He's a happy driver. Juan Cota, then the victor, and coming through for that gold medal. And I think we're going to hear a lot more from the personal Madrid driver. Team Spain then takes a 5th gold to add to 2 silvers and a bronze. It's being a really good weekend for the host nation, embracing the FIA Motorsport Games in style. Spain victorious in Formula 4. So there, the fan village getting busier and busier. It's somewhat flippant to say it's full of Spaniards, but you know what I mean, because all the people from the federation are there, not just the fans, in order to cheer on the winning driver. And their autograph to be had, please. Juan Cota. And that's a very happy young fan who has just got the autograph. And in a few years, that could be a Formula 1 driver's autograph you've got. You never know. So it's one to keep, one to treasure that. So the podium is ready and waiting. The flags of the drivers are there. There is Reza Seaworthen. Hewitt makes his way up the steps. The background to the family from Mauritius, but Reza very much a Brit, and Reza Seaworthen for United Kingdom takes bronze. Then for Peru, it will be Andres Cardenas who is called forward next. The silver medal goes to Peru. First medal of the Games for Peru, and a silver to boot. And then a bronze, 2 silvers, now a 5th gold for Spain, and this gold medal in Formula 4 comes courtesy of Juan Cota. You reckon the Spaniards are happy? Juan Cota on the top step, a gold medal winner, and a great reception for the F4 race winner. Juan Cota very proudly awaits his national anthem. Well done to Spain. Well done, Juan Cota. Now, as he, Andres Cardenas for Peru, and Reza Seaworthen for the UK stand on the podium, they await their trophies, they await their medals, and the medal presentation now is ready to go. Bronze medal for Reza Seaworthen. All smiles. Tough race, not quite having perhaps that last tenth to stay with the leaders.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see a bit more of an attack early on from him, but it sort of died in the middle and then came back to him, didn't it, towards the end. It was an ebb and flow race for the United Kingdom in that one.
Indeed so, as their silver medal goes to Peru, and then the bronze medal, and a huge cheer, no doubt. The bronze to the UK, silver to Peru, gold medal to Spain and to Juan Cota. And for Juan Cota, the F4 gold medalist, there is a voucher to put towards his next season of racing within Formula 4, and that's a great prize to help a young driver up the ladder.
Great prize, annoying to pay in at the local bank, though.
Sure, there'll be a happy team that will take that off you. So then the three drivers huddle together on the top step for the group photograph. And a very, very good race for Spain. And Juan Cota just dominated that, didn't he? He looked so, so strong. And interesting to see how drivers' fortunes have fluctuated a bit over the weekend. You know, people who've looked good in free practice might have struggled in the races. Others have just got better and better. This is where Reza Seaworthen is able to strike and attack with the champagne. Whether they're old enough to drink it is a moot point, but they're certainly old enough to spray it. So congratulations then to Reza Seaworthen for bronze, silver to Andres Cardenas, and gold medal winner Juan Cota. When the lights went out to get the Formula 4 race underway with the medals on the line, it was from pole position Spain's Juan Cota who converted pole into a really good lead, even by turn one. He was 3 lengths ahead, and he was able to control the pace of the race thereafter in a really impressive measured drive. The opposition caught up on the opening lap, but there was drama in the pack as well, where Japan and Austria got together, and that ended the race immediately of Austria as Oscar Wurz, crab-like, limped into the pits. More drama. Greece being attacked by the Czech Republic. The rear wing done on the Greek car, and the Czech Republic's Max Kahan into the gravel. That triggered a safety car, and on the restart, having stacked them all up behind him, it was up to Juan Cota to pull the pin and then sprint clear of the opposition. That he was able to do as the battles raged on lower down. But when we got to the last 10 minutes of the race, it all became about track limits. And Argentina, number 1 there, was one that got many a penalty and ultimately a drive-through. In 4th place, there was a sideways, Reza Seaworthen. But he would get bronze after the man ahead of him from Sri Lanka copped 15 seconds worth of penalties. But an impeccable drive by Juan Cota, who in the second half of the race just steadily built the gap to come through victorious and take a 5th gold medal of the Games for Team Spain. Gold in Formula 4 to Spain, and to a delighted Juan Cota, who was able to celebrate in style at the podium after a really important career victory. A gold medal in Formula 4 to Spain and to Juan Cota.